Welcome to the Practice You podcast. My name is Elena Brower. Let's dive into today's conversation regarding life's myriad transitions and how we refine our responses in our relationships, our wellness, our households, our work, and in our practices. You are invited to learn and love and listen with me. Welcome to Practice You. Welcome back to the podcast. I have with me a healer, somebody with whom I have worked for the last almost year. She is a gift to the world. She is a gift to me and to my family. Her name is Dr. Jess Bell. She's a 2005 graduate of Touro University College of Osteopathic Medicine. She recognized her path to become a doctor early in her life after a very serious accident when she was small. She's an avid athlete, a health enthusiast. She's always been passionate about the human body, especially the intricacies of the musculoskeletal system. But this is an important episode, our listener, because even though this one is so smart, board certifications in neuromusculoskeletal medicine, physical medicine, and rehab, she is a healer in the field of energy, and she is here to empower us to work on ourselves. Her story is very compelling. Her presence is extremely comforting. Like I said, I've worked with her for several months now. She has helped me work through a couple of physical injuries into the emotional realm and back, and I have never been more thankful. Dr. Jess Bell, welcome to the podcast.
Elena, an honor to be here with you.
Thank you so much for being here. I would like to start where you figured out that you, instead of being the sort of doctor in your community that people would go to when they couldn't figure out what was wrong with them structurally, where you went from that to being this profoundly capacious energy healer. And I know that you don't call yourself a healer, but I would like to call you a healer because I feel like your work is healing me and teaching me, empowering me how to heal myself. So when did that shift happen? What was that?
Yeah, wow. It was evolving. It was this kind of in and out knowing, this deep knowing that started to percolate probably a few years before we went into the COVID pandemic, actually, in 2020. And when working with patients, I was trained as a very direct contact, joint articulation, musculoskeletal osteopath. And the transition in the osteopathic model that I'd been trained in happened when I started to intimately work with Jim Jellis, the late Jim Jellis, who coined biodynamics. He was the founder of biodynamic osteopathy, which is the most spiritual form of healing I had ever come into contact with. And I started to feel rhythms and pulsations and the breath of life and the fluid and the tide all within my patients, once I made contact and my hands sank in and synchronized with the health of the patient, it was like scuba diving in this world of health and love. But it was in organ form and muscle form, and I started to learn the language of the body years before I made the transition. And in 2020, I, out of desperation, honestly, started to work with people from a distance because I had this incredibly huge practice, people that had been coming to see me for years on a monthly basis who were reliant upon a treatment to really keep them going. And so in 2020, when we went into our homes and we were sheltering in place, I felt called to begin working with an intuitive in Amsterdam. And she looked through the Zoom screen at me and said, "Whoa, you're an incredibly powerful energy healer." And I just kind of blinked at her, without having really identified anything about energy in the work that I was doing, because I was a physician and doctors at that point in my career weren't really talking about energy healing. And so she just broke it down for me and she said, "Okay, you move energy. You're incredibly potent and powerful, and you don't need to put your hands on people to treat them because you actually see inside of people and move energy within them anatomically. And when she said that to me, it was like every single cell in my body said yes. It was like right there the whole time, but I didn't identify it because I was trained in a system of Western medicine. Even though osteopathic, the biodynamic model was not really quote unquote Western, it still was because I was still taking health insurance. I was still putting my hands on people. I was still working in that model. And this woman, I worked with her from that day onward for about a year and a half, and she coached me and helped me to see what this assignment is that I'm here to complete, this soul assignment, this transition from, being these hands-on providers that foster codependency where the patient is entirely dependent upon the healer or the practitioner, to this other model where, wait a minute, hold on, not only can we work from a distance, so it doesn't matter where you are, but the biggest shift for me was starting this process of working with other people. My body very soon after that started to talk to me and connect with my hands magnetically. It was the same sensation as when I started to work with other people. So not only did I start it all within a 2-month period, I started working with other people over Zoom across the planet. It didn't matter where we were. As soon as I would synchronize with their body, my hands would start to use my own body as a holographic version of them, and I could see inside their body and start moving things through so they would feel better on a very specific physiologic, energetic, anatomic basis. And then very shortly after that, my own body reaped the same reward as the treatments I was offering others. And I started treating myself. And, all guided. I didn't know what I was doing. My brain did not know this, but my hands and my heart did. My body did. So my body showed me my guides, guided my hands. And lo and behold, for my own body, all of this pain that I'd had since I was this kid, crushed under a car, started to melt away. And that was really when I knew I had to start putting one foot in front of the other and start not only offering this work to others, but teaching them how to do it for themselves.
I think what's amazing is the prospect that we can all get sensitive enough to be able to work on ourselves. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, our listener is probably wondering about this prospect for themselves. I wonder if we could speak a little bit to this. I don't have any concept of what it would look like or sound like or feel like, but I'm feeling into my body with my eyes closed as you're speaking. I've had several sessions with you remotely that were profoundly healing for me. And I can feel when you say, okay, I'm right underneath the clavicle, and I can actually feel what's happening when you're doing that. I wonder, how can we learn this?
Yeah, I love that question, Elena, and thank you for asking that. It is a skill set, and that's really what this is. I always share with people that when I first started learning how the cranial mechanism of our body felt, it took me a long time to start to feel the rhythmic pulsation of the head, the skull. Cranial osteopathy is something that, a medical student learns. And if you're somebody who's really wanting to know how to do this work, as an osteopathic student, everyone that I knew who was really committed to learning cranial osteopathy, they learned how. They were taught. And then there's just this divine timing component where the body has to acclimate to what I like to call it is it's a radio station, really. We tune into a certain frequency and we can start to feel these energies. They're magnetic. And so it's almost like when you're scanning through a radio, I always tell people, if you're out in the country or something and you catch the edge of a radio station back in the day when we could actually tune our radios.
Oh my God, I remember that so well.
Right? You remember that?
So well.
And that's what this is. In the very beginning, and this is a skill set, right? I teach this. I have a series of programs that I teach that give you every single piece of this skill set.
This is what you teach.
This is what I teach. This is exactly what I teach. There are 4 components to the skill set. So first of all...
Wait, I just want our listener to know I'm a client, and I was so interested in speaking to her and learning about this that I have her on the podcast, but I didn't know that this is something you actually teach to people, so I'm very intrigued now.
Yes. Okay. Everyone can do this. Everyone can do this. And the reason is the 4 tools. Number 1 is your attention and intention, your mind. So wherever you rest your attention, you magnetically direct the flow of biophotons. That's light. That's the light we're made of. So when you take your mind, your focused mind, and you put it on your right clavicle, what happens inside of your body, and we have devices that can study this. I don't personally have one, but this is something that we can literally, with our mind, move more biophotons. The biophotons are the real magic of healing. Biophotons are little packages of light, and it's how cells communicate with one another. And with our mind, with our intention, we direct the flow of those biophotons within the body. And then the next part of that is your breath. So when you rest your mind and really focus the energy of your mind with the intention of moving that energy across, if I just told you right now, Elena, focus right now on your clavicle, the middle part of the clavicle, and now I want you to breathe into it. And now as you exhale, I want you to see that part of your clavicle that wasn't moving very well. I'm actually feeling it right now. Now we're going to bring that energy over to the shoulder, so a little farther away from the middle part of your body, and start to bring it over toward your shoulder. Every joint in the body is a doorway, and that energy wants to flow through the doorway and actually down your arm. And so this is
I'm
right.
feeling
Can you
it.
feel that?
Totally.
Yeah, I'm actually treating you. I use my hands because my hands are incredibly sensitive, but the hands are the piece that are the option. So what we just did was I brought you in. When your intention matches my intention, now not only are you directing the flow of biophotons to that part of your body, I'm also doing the same thing. We're a team. And the breath is the mover. Okay, breath, prana, life force, it's the mover, it's the flow. So now we bring more energy to that part of your body and we start to move that part out. So, what I teach people is a framework. We have all of these beautiful energy centers in the body. We have a central channel, Earth star under the body, Sun star above the body, this amazing electromagnetic biofield around the body, which is a lot of the work I'm doing now, because our emotional energies come back from the biofield into the physical body, and then we move it all through together. So healing is exponential as compared to what I was even offering people at the beginning of teaching this work. So I'm just continuing to learn more about how to clear our systems back out again so that we bring back the resonance, the harmony of love, coherence. And that's the skill set. So the skill set is first really putting on your energetic goggles and getting to know who you are at that level, beginning to understand how energy moves through your body, how your body is structured. So this is beyond the anatomy. And then I teach a little bit about anatomy because the anatomy is where things often get stuck. That's where we feel the dam within the electrical system of the body, right? So that's when we get blockages there. There's a lot more to say about that than obviously we have time for, but a blockage within the electrical flow state within a certain joint, bone, muscle, that's where we feel a lot of this stuff. We have physical pain because our body really wants us to know where to go. And so when we have pain, it's such a gift. And this is where we go into the emotional work. When we have had an experience, usually when we were just very small, something that happened, it can be big or small, it doesn't matter. When we don't feel through an emotional experience, that emotional energy, it actually sits in the field just off the body. And so this work brings it back and then turns on the release of the biochemical portion within the cell in the physical body. So that's kind of a complicated way of saying we bring both of you back together again, the part of you that's the pain body and the part of you that's the love body. And when we bring it back together again, the love is the alchemizer, the flow, and that energy just flows right through, but in a specific way.
What I feel is you referenced this really briefly early in our chat just now. You talked about the river.
Yeah.
I think that is really important to focus on for some reason. The feeling when you're working in there is the flow of the river suddenly gets robust and more active. So that's all I can say. That's the only way I can describe it, really.
That's beautiful. And the founder, the man who really channeled osteopathy back in the late 1800s said the role of the healer, the osteopath or the self-healer, is to irrigate the withering fields. And so what happens is we get the dam goes up within some part of us, and it's all goes back to unfelt feelings and emotions. That's what really dams us up. And so here's the cool part of the work that I'm doing now. And this is with great thanks to the work of Eileen McCusick, actually, who brings in biofield tuning. The biofield is that beautiful field that sits about 6 feet in every direction off the body. And when we have something out there that's an unfelt feeling, it kind of gets frozen. That part of our light system is right out there. And so we end up leaking light to the periphery of this field. It's actually not even in the body, but it's held within the vicinity of the body. And so what I do and how I teach now is we find those parts of you that are either inside of your body and not flowing, or just off the body and that you're feeding those parts of yourself and you're leaking light. It's dispersed. And so, as you mentioned, this is about gathering back these parts of you, these pieces of you, bringing them right back through the tissues of the body, and then delivering them to the energy center within the core. And then we have this gushing central channel of energy, because these parts that were just sitting out there, not really doing a whole lot, you are just losing light to feed these parts of you that haven't yet been digested. And so we bring them back to the middle of you and let them be digested through your body. And that then integrates the energies back into circulation. Your body evolves. So the programs that I teach are actually called that: Evolve and Heal the Body. It's a series. And it brings in every piece to teach you how to feel energy, how to know where to bring the energy that you're feeling, and how to work within your body and your biofield.
It's so profound to hear the explanation of it so visually. Yeah, it really helps me to understand what you've been doing in there. And what's most interesting, to close that sort of loop, is now whenever I feel that sort of ache in my shoulder or in the other arm, in Terry's major, in the left side, I actually just think and feel into the work that you were doing. And I allow myself to travel into the space. I'm not nearly as eloquent as you are energetically, but I travel into the space. I take a few deep breaths and I allow whatever is being sort of balled up in there to dissipate with my exhalations. And it always helps. Perhaps it doesn't get rid of it entirely. Perhaps I was packaging up boxes for recycling and I did something funny to my arm, but it always helps. Always. And the empowerment is real, I feel.
Yeah. It's so powerful. We have no idea as humans how incredibly powerful we are as healers of our own bodies. We all came here to come back to ourselves and to gather back those pieces and parts of ourselves. When we're kids, we're born into these really impossible situations, some of us. If you are an energetic sensitive, if you are an empath, if you're here to do really transformational healing, then what happens is we choose to be born into really challenging familial systems. And as a result of that, we swallow a lot of our feelings early on, because a lot of us didn't really feel safe. We didn't feel loved. We got, incredibly neglected and abandoned, especially as energetic sensitives. So what does it mean to be an energetic sensitive? We're more magnetic. We take in more energy within a single situation. We feel everything. And when our system gets overwhelmed, some of that energy kind of pieces and parcels off, and it sits either inside the body or just off the body, and it doesn't go away intentionally. The reason for that is because that information holds wisdom. The reason that we've come here is to evolve and to expand our consciousness. And that information that came in when we were kids is holding those keys to our evolution. So this is the regathering of you. This time on the planet especially is the time for us to truly leap forward as vibrational beings who get to know who we really are. And when we know that, and we know the power of our intention, and then I just bring you a skill set. a framework, some tools, so that, like you, Elena, we can overcomplicate it, actually. You know, you don't have to be an osteopathic doctor to do this. You can have just a really loose understanding of this work and still have it impact you in a profound way. That's what I love about this. Everyone can do this.
Yeah, yeah, I feel it. So I think the last question that I have for you today would be, how can our listener get in contact with your work, especially the folks who might be healers or in some way practitioners who are interested in learning more and possibly integrating this into their current work?
Yeah, great question. So I'll just share that I have 2 educational tracts right now, 2 different series. One is the Restoring the Health Within series, and it's for doctors, people who are already osteopathic physicians, who are licensed medical providers, who want an additional modality, which I'm calling energetic osteopathy. So that's one tract. So if you happen to be an osteopath, you're listening to this and you're like, really looking forward to finding out ways that you can enhance your skill set, using telehealth from anywhere. That's one tract that I offer. And then the other program tract is called Evolve and Heal the Body series. It's a 5-part series, but the first part is the prerequisite for any other part. You don't have to do all 5 parts, just the first one to get access to anything that I do. And so that series is available in an ongoing way, the Evolve and Heal the Body series. I do it over Zoom. I also live in Maine, and so I actually teach these programs in person from time to time. But all of these programs can be found on my website, which is centersforenergetic.healing.com. And just go to the drop-down menu that says offerings. You can work with me one-on-one if you want to have a more individual session like Elena's been receiving, or you can click around to see when the next Evolve and Heal the Body series program is being offered over Zoom.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for that. Centers, plural, centers for energetichealing.com. It's a beautiful website. I'm looking at it right now. It's comprehensive, and you will be able to sort of suss out, our listener, what is best for you to come alongside to Jess's work. I'm so grateful. I'm so glad we have another session coming soon.
Yes.
And I just really am in awe of the conversation. I look forward to more of this conversation, but to just gently invite our listener to listen to this a couple of times and really feel into what is possible for you. Your own hands have the clues and the tools to heal whatever is going on in your body. And I'm not saying don't see a doctor. I love my doctor. I love going to acupuncture. I love Reiki. I love massage. I love all these things. But it's really nice to know that in the quiet and the privacy of your own home, you can actually make a difference in your pain levels just by giving yourself attention, intention, breath. What was the 4th thing?
The 4th one was, I'll teach you how to use your hands to magnetically supplement the movement of energy through the tissues of your body.
Whoa.
So magnetic hands.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's really fun. It's
Whoa.
fun. Yeah.
I think I need that. Attention, intention, breath, and your hands, empowering your hands. I imagine it's something similar to Reiki, but not the same.
Very different. I have a lot of people who...
It is very different.
Yeah, really different. Really, really specific. I think Reiki's incredible, by the way.
Yeah.
For any Reiki practitioners
Incredible.
out there. But it's very different the way this works more specifically inside the tissues of the body.
Now I'm intrigued again. Shit. I have to come and take that course. All right.
Yes.
You can expect me. As soon as I'm done with this book, I'm coming.
I can't wait. I really, really look forward to that, Elena. And I also look forward to sharing with you more. There's been huge new developments in how I see the body now, and you'll get to benefit from that when I see you next time.
Oh, that's incredible. Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Jess Bell.
Thank you, Elena.
Gosh.
Thank you for all you are doing to
Yes.
heal this planet with your gifts.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.